Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, does Buddhism require faith? Is it just a philosophy, or does it hold something deeper, something transformative that might challenge what you think faith even means? In today's journey, we'll uncover the profound role of faith in Buddhism, how it transcends blind belief and becomes an active, experiential force that can reshape your spiritual path. Stick around, because what you'll discover might completely change how you approach spirituality in life. Well, faith is often synonymous with religion, but in Buddhism, it carries a depth and nuance unlike anything else. The Pali word Saddha and the Sanskrit Shraddha define a faith built not on submission but on trust rooted in understanding and direct experience. The Buddha didn't ask his followers for blind devotion, he encouraged inquiry, reflection, and practice. Faith in Buddhism is not about passive belief, it is a dynamic process of discovery that transforms with effort and insight. In this video, we'll explore the true meaning of faith in Buddhism, why blind faith has no place in this path, real-life stories that illustrate how faith evolves through practice, and actionable lessons to enrich your spiritual journey. Let's begin unraveling this fascinating topic. Number 1. What is faith in Buddhism? Faith in Buddhism is rooted in trust, but it is not the kind of trust that relies solely on blind adherence or unquestioning belief. Instead, it begins with confidence in the Buddha's enlightenment and his teachings, which provide the path to liberation from suffering. Unlike many traditional definitions of faith that often emphasize submission or spiritual conviction without evidence, the faith emphasized in Buddhism is an invitation to personal effort and inquiry. The Buddha himself rejected the notion of blind belief, urging his followers to critically examine his teachings and validate their truth through their own experiences. This is encapsulated in his famous advice to test his teachings, just as a goldsmith tests gold, emphasizing that faith in Buddhism must be active, involving personal engagement and exploration rather than passive acceptance. A compelling metaphor often used to describe this form of faith is that of a flash of lightning in the dark. Imagine standing in total darkness, unable to discern anything around you. Then, for an instant, a lightning bolt illuminates the space, revealing a statue directly in front of you. This brief but clear vision becomes the foundation of your trust in the statue's presence, even when the darkness returns. Your faith is not based on hearsay or assumption, it stems directly from your own experience of seeing the statue during that fleeting moment of illumination. In the same way, faith in Buddhism is grounded in moments of clarity and insight that arise through practice. These glimpses of truth, though they may be brief, are profoundly impactful and provide a foundation for deeper trust in the teachings. This experiential faith stands in stark contrast to conventional ideas of belief that are often imposed externally or inherited culturally. In Buddhism, faith is cultivated as a dynamic and evolving process. It starts with trust, grows through understanding, and matures with direct experience. This approach ensures that the practitioner's faith is not just theoretical or abstract but becomes a lived reality. By framing faith as an active pursuit of truth rather than passive adherence, Buddhism transforms the very concept of faith into a tool for personal growth and spiritual awakening. Number 2. Blind faith versus experiential faith. In Buddhism, the distinction between blind faith and experiential faith is fundamental to its teachings. The Buddha explicitly cautioned against amulika saddha, which translates to rootless faith. This type of belief is ungrounded, much like planting a seed in barren soil lacking the necessary conditions to grow. It remains ineffective and unproductive. Rootless faith often arises when beliefs are adopted without critical examination or personal verification, leading to fragility in one's spiritual understanding. Instead of promoting such hollow adherence, the Buddha exalted akaravati saddha, a faith firmly rooted in practice and realization. This kind of faith is like planting a seed in fertile soil, where consistent care and nourishment allow it to flourish into deep understanding. To deepen the conversation, The Buddha identified 5 common forms of belief that people often hold, each of which reflects a different aspect of how faith is typically formed. The first is inherited belief, where individuals accept ideas simply because they were raised in an environment that propagated those beliefs. For example, a person might follow a particular tradition or religion because their family has done so for generations, without ever questioning or understanding its principles. Next is emotional belief, where faith is based on feelings or personal preferences. This form is fragile, as it often depends on fleeting emotions or subjective attraction rather than substantive inquiry. The third type, authoritative belief, involves trusting ideas solely because they were presented by someone deemed credible or knowledgeable. While authority can provide valuable guidance, relying exclusively on it risks creating dependence without fostering personal insight. Logical belief, the fourth form, is where individuals base their faith on reason and rationality but stop short of direct experience. While this approach can seem more robust than the first 3, it lacks the transformative power that comes from putting principles into practice. Finally, there is personal alignment, where people believe in ideas that coincide with their pre-existing worldview or biases. This form of belief often serves to reinforce comfort zones rather than challenge or expand understanding. The Buddha's teachings encourage practitioners to transcend these 5 forms of belief by grounding their faith in direct, lived experiences. True faith in Buddhism is not a static acceptance but an evolving relationship with the truth, cultivated through mindful practice and personal exploration. For example, a practitioner might initially trust in the benefits of meditation because it is logically compelling or recommended by respected teachers. However, it is only through consistent practice experiencing the calming of the mind, the deepening of awareness, and the arising of insight that this faith matures into a profound conviction. This progression from blind to experiential faith embodies the essence of Buddhism's approach to spiritual development. By challenging individuals to actively engage with the teachings and verify their truth through personal experience, the Buddha shifted the focus from dogma to discovery. Faith, in this context, becomes not an endpoint but a journey, one that grows stronger and more meaningful with every step taken on the path. Number 3. Stories that illuminate Buddhist faith. Faith in Buddhism isn't just a concept to be understood, it's a living principle that transforms through experiences, challenges, and practice. While theory provides a foundation, stories breathe life into the teachings, helping us see how faith works in real situations. Let's explore 2 stories that illustrate how Buddhist faith unfolds in action, reminding us that true confidence comes not from external guarantees but from internal resilience and trust in the process. The first story is about a monk who found himself in an unexpected crisis, a test of his faith, not in an abstract doctrine, but in his own ability to respond mindfully. The monk was crossing a rickety bridge that swayed with every step, a precarious path that many would find daunting. Suddenly, the bridge gave way, collapsing into the river below. For most people, this would trigger panic, but the monk didn't flinch. Instead of succumbing to fear, he calmly entered the water and swam to safety. His response wasn't accidental, it was the result of years of meditation practice, which had cultivated his ability to remain present and composed under pressure. His faith wasn't in the physical structure of the bridge, something inherently unstable, but in the inner stability he had developed through mindfulness. This story demonstrates how experiential faith, built through practice, provides a source of strength that external circumstances cannot shake. The second story shifts from crisis to cultivation, illustrating how faith grows gradually, much like a seed. A farmer, committed to his work, planted seeds in his field. Every day, he tended to the soil, watered the seedlings, and carefully removed weeds that threatened their growth. His actions weren't driven by blind hope but by a deep understanding of the natural process of cultivation. He knew that with consistent care, the seeds would sprout and eventually bear fruit. In Buddhism, faith mirrors this process. It's not about waiting passively for results or clinging to the promise of a future outcome. Instead, it's about actively nurturing the conditions through mindfulness, ethical conduct, and self-discipline that allow wisdom and peace to arise naturally. Just as the farmer's trust in the seeds was grounded in knowledge and effort, Buddhist faith is rooted in practice and experience, making it both practical and transformative. These stories remind us that faith in Buddhism is not something distant or abstract. It is an active force in everyday life. Whether it's the monk relying on his inner calm during a moment of crisis or the farmer trusting the gradual process of growth, both examples show how faith is less about external certainties and more about cultivating inner strength and understanding. This kind of faith doesn't just guide us through difficulties, it also encourages us to embrace the slow, steady process of transformation, knowing that every small effort contributes to something greater. Number 4. Faith as a seed. Just as a seed holds the possibility of becoming a towering tree, faith contains the potential for profound spiritual awakening. But as with any seed, its growth depends entirely on the conditions surrounding it. A seed left on barren ground will never sprout, just as faith that isn't nurtured through practice and understanding will remain stagnant. The Buddha used this analogy to emphasize that faith, while essential, is not a standalone virtue. It requires careful cultivation through effort, discipline, and mindfulness. Imagine a farmer who plants a seed in fertile soil. He knows that planting the seed is only the first step. Without water, sunlight, and protection from weeds, the seed will fail to grow. Similarly, the Buddha described the factors that nourish faith and allow it to flourish. These include wisdom, moral conduct, mindfulness, and the willingness to engage in disciplined practice. Wisdom acts as the sunlight that provides clarity and guidance, moral conduct ensures the soil is rich and supportive, and mindfulness serves as the steady rain that nourishes the growing seed. Together, these qualities create the ideal environment for faith to thrive, transforming it from mere belief into a deeply rooted conviction. One of the most important aspects of this metaphor is that faith in Buddhism isn't passive. It's not about waiting for enlightenment to come to you or hoping for some external force to grant you peace. Faith is an active process, much like tending to a seed. It requires consistent effort, meditating daily, reflecting on the teachings, and applying them to your life. The more you engage with these practices, the more your faith deepens and strengthens, just as a seed grows taller and more resilient with proper care. Over time, what starts as a small spark of trust in the Buddha's teachings can grow into a profound and unshakable confidence in the path you're walking. This metaphor also underscores the interdependence of faith and action. You can't simply plant a seed and hope for the best. You need to actively create the conditions for it to grow. Similarly, faith isn't something you possess in isolation. It evolves as you engage with the teachings, face challenges, and experience moments of insight. For example, a practitioner might start by trusting the Buddha's words about the benefits of mindfulness, but it's only through practicing mindfulness and seeing its effects firsthand that this faith deepens and becomes transformative. Ultimately, the seed of faith in Buddhism teaches us an important lesson: growth takes time and patience. Just as a tree doesn't sprout overnight, spiritual progress requires persistence and dedication. The process may be slow, but every step, every act of mindfulness, every effort to live ethically contributes to the flourishing of faith. This perspective encourages us to embrace the journey, trusting that with consistent care, the seed we've planted will eventually bear the fruit of wisdom and liberation. Number 5. Lessons for your spiritual journey. Faith in Buddhism is not a destination. It is an ever-evolving journey that deepens as you engage with the teachings, reflect on your experiences, and integrate the lessons into your life. At its core, this journey is guided by a spirit of curiosity and exploration, encouraging practitioners to actively seek the truth rather than passively accept it. The Buddha's teachings emphasize that faith is not the absence of doubt but a process of transforming doubt into understanding through inquiry, practice, and insight. Let's explore the key lessons for cultivating faith as part of your spiritual path. The first and perhaps most liberating lesson is to question everything. Faith in Buddhism begins not with blind adherence but with inquiry. The Buddha himself urged his followers to test his teachings, to scrutinize them as a goldsmith examines the purity of gold. This means you are encouraged to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and explore the teachings with an open but critical mind. True faith arises not from accepting something because you're told to, but from seeing its truth for yourself. For example, if you're told that meditation can reduce suffering, don't take it at face value, try it, observe its effects, and let your own experience guide you. This process transforms faith into a lived and deeply personal conviction. The second lesson is that practice makes faith stronger. Faith in Buddhism is not static, it grows and solidifies through consistent effort. Practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living serve as the foundation for this growth. Meditation trains the mind to observe without judgment, fostering clarity and inner peace. Mindfulness helps you remain present and aware, allowing you to see the interconnectedness of all things. Ethical living creates harmony in your actions, reducing conflicts, and nurturing trust in yourself and others. Together, these practices create a positive feedback loop. The more you practice, the more you see the benefits, and the stronger your faith becomes. Over time, this faith transforms from an initial curiosity into a profound certainty rooted in experience. Another critical lesson is to embrace doubt. In many spiritual traditions, doubt is seen as an obstacle, something to be suppressed or overcome. But in Buddhism, doubt is viewed as a companion on the path. It is not the enemy of faith but its catalyst, pushing you to ask deeper questions and seek more meaningful answers. Doubt challenges you to move beyond superficial understanding and engage more deeply with the teachings. For instance, if you doubt the concept of impermanence, instead of dismissing it, observe the changing nature of your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. This exploration can lead to insights that strengthen your faith in the Buddha's wisdom. By embracing doubt, you transform it from a source of uncertainty into a tool for growth. Finally, remember that faith is a journey. It's not about reaching a point where all your questions are answered or all your doubts are resolved. Instead, it's about walking the path, experiencing the teachings, and witnessing the results for yourself. Faith in Buddhism is dynamic, it evolves as you do. There may be moments of clarity when your trust in the teachings feels unshakable, and there may be moments of uncertainty when you question everything. Both are essential parts of the journey. What matters is your commitment to keep going, to continue exploring, practicing, and growing. As we've explored, faith in Buddhism is not a static idea. It is something that grows, evolves, and deepens as you walk the path. We've seen how it starts with inquiry, takes root through practice, and blossoms into unshakable confidence built on personal experience. Think of the stories we've explored: the monk who trusted his mindfulness in a moment of crisis, or the farmer who nurtured his seeds with care. These lessons remind us that faith is both practical and transformative, a guiding light that helps us navigate uncertainty and discover truth within ourselves. And so, faith in Buddhism becomes a call to empowerment, not submission. It invites you to trust in your ability to awaken and walk the path that leads to liberation, just as the Buddha did. It's not about accepting ideas blindly but about nurturing a confidence that grows through practice, insight, and mindful exploration. Like a seed that thrives with rain and sunlight, your faith matures with effort and care, becoming a wellspring of inner strength and wisdom. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of faith's profound role in Buddhism. If this resonated with you, I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to Buddha's Odyssey. Remember, every step you take on this path brings you closer to clarity, peace, and transformation.